Hey y'all, it's Louisa from LP Tutoring, and I'm here today to talk to you about a test-taking strategy called Pirates. I love to introduce this to students for a couple of reasons. One is that it's great for kids who get the jitters before a test because it gives you a game plan for something to do and focus on during the test. It's also great when you get that question that you just have no idea how to answer. This gives you some concrete steps to take that at least get you closer to answering the question correctly. So let's start to talk about what PIRATES is. So it's an acronym, and it stands for Prepare to Succeed, Inspect the Instructions, Read, Remember, Reduce, Answer or Abandon, Turn Back, Estimate, and Survey. So let's go through each of these steps. So the first step is prepare to succeed. Please write your name on the test. As a teacher, I think every time I gave a test, I had one kid forget to put their name on it. You want your teacher in a good mood when they grade your test? Write your name on it. Write PIRATES at the top of each page. That will act as a cue for you to remember these strategies as you're going through the test. And then please read over the entire test before you start. The reason for that is so that you can start to figure out how much time you need to spend on each section. So maybe you notice that section C is really long, so you know that you'll need to go a little faster in A and B to make sure you get in that last section. Also, as you are getting the test, think positively. Tell yourself, I can do this. I'm prepared. I'm going to be successful. Those positive statements can really help, especially if you're nervous about the test. So you're reading over the test and you want to inspect the instruction. So read it for each part. Most tests have multiple sections and each section often has its own set of directions. So you want to read those pretty carefully. Circle or underline the verbs in the directions to make sure you really understand how to complete that section. If you're not sure what it means, ask your teacher for clarification. And then notice if there are any special directions. Maybe the answers to section A have to be written on one piece of paper, and the answers for section B have to be written on a different piece of paper. Make sure that you follow those special directions. All right, so our next part is when you start answering questions. So you're going to read, remember, and then reduce. So you want to read the entire question before kind of deciding what your answer is, and you want to cross out any unnecessary information in the question or in the answers itself. Then you want to remember what you've studied about the topic. So let's say you're studying the Cold War. The question is about the Cold War. So you start to think about, okay, well, what did we study about the Cold War? And use those memories to start reducing your choices. So you can cross out any answers that you know right away are incorrect. So I have an example. Let's look at that. So this question says, television and radio are both A, used by animals, B, used by fish, C, means of communication, D, means of visual communication. So we can get rid of some options here pretty quickly, right? We can get rid of A. I don't know many animals that use television or radio. They may like it, but I don't know if they can work the remote. And ditto for fish. So we can get rid of that. That leaves us with two options. That means even if you don't know, you're not sure between C or D, you now have a 50% chance of getting the question right, which is a lot better than the original 25% chance you had of getting the question correct. So now you have to decide, am I going to answer or abandon? If you can answer the question right away, go ahead, answer it, move on to the next question. If you're not sure, abandon it for now. You're not abandoning the question for all time, just for right now. So make some sort of mark. I normally recommend a star next to the question so you know to go back to it later. And again, that's our idea, that once you've read through all the questions, you should probably still have time and you can come back to this question to answer it. And the reason I want you to do this is because I want you to answer as many questions correctly as you can. Sometimes I have kids get stuck on a single question and they will spend 20, 30, 40 minutes on one question. Meanwhile, they lose the chance or lose the time to answer all those other questions they knew the answers to. So if you can answer it, great. Answer it otherwise, mark it, and we'll come back to it later. So after you've read through all the questions, then you're going to turn back and go back through the test, review all the questions you have answered, make sure you picked the correct answer, And now we go back to those questions that you abandoned. And this is your chance to take a little more time, go through the options, and try to answer the question. Please don't leave any questions blank. Even if it's 30 seconds left in the period, start randomly selecting answers. There's no penalty for picking a wrong answer, either in your class or if you're taking AP exams or the SAT. Go ahead and just guess. You at least have if it's a multiple choice question, you may have a 20 or 25% chance of getting the question right, and you might. So just start guessing when it's really close to the end. But make sure that you've answered every single question that you can. All right, so you've turned back, you're stuck on a question, you just don't know what the answer is. So now you're gonna start to estimate. Does that mean you know the exact answer? Probably not, but you can at least get a little closer and increase your chances of answering the question correctly. So what you want to do is looking at your answer choices, you want to get rid of any answer choices that have absolute words in them. So that would be words like all, always, every, never, only, no, or none. Why are these bad choices? Life is nuanced, and it's usually not as black and white as these words provide. So what you want to look for instead are answer choices that have words like sometimes, few, some, seldom, most, many, often, or usually. So let's look at an example. So this is a question that says, when this preservative monogeate is added to food, A, the food rarely spoils, B, the food never changes color, C, the food sometimes changes color, or D, the food always spoils. So there are a couple of absolute words here. We're going to pick them out. So the food never changes color. Because it's an absolute word, we can probably, think about that. And the other absolute word is in D, where it says the food always spoils. Again, we can probably get rid of those two options. So you're now left with a 50-50 chance of getting the question correct. So let's say you've done that, you've gotten rid of your absolute words, you still don't know what to do. Look to see if there are similar answers, and you can probably get rid of those. So maybe you've got two options, you've got a couple of options left, and one says 12 inches and the other says 1 foot. Well, that's actually the same length. So you could probably get rid of those two options, and that might then answer the question for you. Now, this is the most dreaded part. You've done all of this. You got rid of any similar answers. You got rid of any options with absolute words, and you just have no clue. My advice at that point, choose the longest, most detailed choice. It may not be right, but it's more likely to be correct. And remember, you're only going to pick this when you are pretty much just flat out guessing what the answer might be. So here's an example. And says, the Arguelloan colonists fought the king because of A, land rights, B, cruelty, C, water rights, or D, unfair taxation of export products. So let's say you don't know anything about these people. Why? Because they're made up. And you're just looking at the four answers. None of them have those absolute words in them. None of them are similar, and you're just kind of stuck. Pick the longest one, which is D, and hope that you get it correct. All right, the last step after you've gone back, you've answered all of the questions that you had originally abandoned, you just want to do one last survey over your test. Is your name on it? Again, so important. Please tell me your name is on the test. Did you follow all the directions? So remember, some of the sections may have really specific directions where you're supposed to answer all of the questions within a section, or maybe only 3 out of 4, for example. Did you answer all the questions? Even if you're guessing, go ahead and guess because you may get it right and that may increase your grade. So go ahead and do it. Again, this is just a tactic or techniques to help you answer questions on a test. Will it guarantee that you get every question correct? No, but it will probably help you to improve your grade. And also, if you get the jitters before a test, it's a great way to just kind of keep you grounded and focused during the test itself. If you have any more questions about the Pirates test strategy or other test strategies or study strategies, please check out the blog at lptutoring.com, and you can find me on Facebook at lptutoringco, Twitter at the same handle, lptutoringco, or on Instagram at lptutoring. Thanks so much for watching.